Hey everybody, this is Julius, and I am a seller on Merch by Amazon. And I've partnered with a lot of the different forums and really somebody who wants to help everybody out as far as getting their feet wet with merch. There's lots of questions, and I love helping out new people. So one of the biggest questions I get is what should I use for creating my design? Should I use an app on my phone? Should I use Photoshop, GIMP? Adobe Illustrator. There's lots of different things to choose from. At the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of Photoshop, and that's why I'm here to produce this tutorial. I threw out the question, would anybody be interested in it? And in some of the forums, I had received, hundreds of responses and what people wanted. So a lot of the big questions is, how do I start? I've never used Photoshop. It's daunting. What do I need to do? So that's what this is about. So please understand, to anybody that's got any proficiency with Photoshop, this specific tutorial is literally addressing it to people who have never used Photoshop ever before and just really need some simple questions on how they can get set up. For those of you who do have some proficiency but maybe need some help, you can absolutely use Photoshop for every design element that you need. I don't care what anybody else says. I've used it for a very, very long time. And I've been in the t-shirt business for 15 years. Started using Photoshop really in depth probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I've just used it for everything. It's just a phenomenal tool and really exciting to be able to share this with you. So again, this is ultra basic, as if you've never used it before. So to get into this, the first thing I always tell everybody to do is that they need to create a series of folders for the work that they're doing. So what I like to do is I like to create a folder named merch and go inside that. And it's going to be blank, obviously. We're just going to leave that alone for right this second, but this is where we're going to start. And everything that we're going to do for merch, everything is going to be inside this folder because it's going to make it super easy to back up, which is something that everybody should be doing to make sure that your files don't get lost because God forbid, your hard drive craps out or something like that. You don't want to lose all those files. I'm not a huge fan of backing everything up to the cloud, so I have a lot of terabytes here for what I've been doing over the years and a lot of old school files that I'm pulling out of different software components I'm putting into Photoshop and recreating and finding that they're really just coming out better. So as far as going into Photoshop, we've got our merch folder. You can open up Photoshop for the first time. Now I've used Photoshop on my computer multiple times before, so your layout might be a little bit different. I do keep it pretty much to the default, and the goal here is to make things be really simple. So first thing you need to do is go to File and then New. Now your numbers here are probably going to be different than what I've got. However, we want to make sure that everything is the same. Default Photoshop size, maybe it is. It is in centimeters. We're going to want to change this to pixels. Okay, so don't worry about these numbers in the beginning. Just switch this to pixels first. Then we're going to put 4500 wide and we're going to put 5400 high. The resolution, very, very important. This has to be at 300 because you don't want your files looking like crap and you want to have a very high resolution. And that's really ideal. Some people will do it at 150, but please do yourself a favor and set it up at 300. RGB color, 8-bit is fine. Background contents, we want this to be transparent. Okay. When you get to this point, now just to answer a quick question, I've had a lot of people on the background color, whatever color this is right here, that's what this background color is. If this black right here was green, red, white, whatever it is, and you have this clicked, that's what you're going to get. I like to have everything be transparent, and so this is the way that it should look ideally. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to hit Save Preset. Now the reason why we're doing that, and you'll see this, everything should be checked. Click OK. As you can see, I've already got that set up in there. So I'm going to delete mine actually, just so you can see what's going on. Save preset, 45 by 100. Now you can change this to whatever you want. So let's change it to merch. Okay. And then you're going to click OK. Now what happens is when you open up a file and you see it like this, I'll show you what's going to take place. File, New, And you can see that this is the very last thing that we worked on was this size. But now I do a lot of designing at 16 by 20. So if I was changing this to 16 by 20 in inches and I click OK, you can see this looks really, really similar to that. So I wouldn't want to work on this and try to upload it to Merch because I'd get a lot of errors telling me that the sizing is wrong. Now, don't do what I'm about to do. Keep your file open, but I'm just showing this to you for the sake of seeing it. When you go into Photoshop after you've closed out, whatever the last thing that you were working on, those dimensions, that's what's actually going to be here when you click on New. So again, if you were racing through stuff and you clicked on New and you were like, oh, I'm designing for Merch, thinking that you're doing a good job here, you're really screwing yourself. So that's why having the preset is so important. So again, when you get into Photoshop, you're opening up, and then you go up to here, File, and then New, you'll be able to click on this preset and go to Merch. And then it's going to fill in all the blanks for you and keep it really simple. So, okay. So now we're back to this screen here. What I want you to do now, and I think that everybody should do, is they should create a layer, and you're going to be hovering over this create a new layer, which it looks like the little piece of paper with the fold up the end. And you're to create this layer 2, and then you're going to click it again to create layer 3. So you click one time to highlight it, and if you click it again, nothing happens. So you got to double click into that in order to actually change the name, just like you would do with most other documents that you're trying to change. So we're going to change this color, or not change the color, but change the name right now to black. Click on this and then double click into the name, and we're going to change this to white. Okay. So whatever layer you have that you're clicking, that's the active layer that you're working on. So black is highlighted, white is highlighted. I'm going to change this color here. Actually, we'll start with black just to make it so you understand what's going on. Now, when you start out, you're looking at your toolbar here, you may very well see this. This is the gradient tool. If you see this image here, click on it and move over to the paint bucket tool, and you'll see a little paint bucket. So we're on the black, that's highlighted. This is the color that we're working with, whatever color is the foreground color, and we're going to fill that with black. Now we're going to go over to the white, and we're going to either click this button here, which will switch it from black to white, or basically switching whatever the foreground is to the background, swapping those colors around. Or, a lot of people were asking about shortcuts. If you hit the letter X, that X will actually swap it around as well. So now we want the foreground color, so the primary color that we're working with, we want that to be white because we're on the white layer. So we're going to fill that with white. Oh no, what happened to our black? Again, assuming that you've never used Photoshop before, maybe you're new to layers. So a quick explanation of layers, the way that it was explained to me, where I finally understood it many years ago when I got into Photoshop, and I'm a little older of a guy. So a guy told me, he's like, imagine sitting at a table and you're at a wood table. Table's brown. The table is blank. Nothing's in front of you. Then you take a sheet of paper and you're laying that on the table. So when there's nothing there, which is basically this area underneath layer 1, that's your table. Layer 1 is the first sheet of paper. Layer 2, the next one, is stacked on top of layer 1. The third one is stacked on top of layer 2. So just like a book would be, you can't see the next page until you turn it. So if we got rid of this third page, which is on the very, very top and blocking everything that's underneath it, we can then see the next page, which is underneath that, and then the next page that's underneath that. I can turn the white on, and it's still on top of black, but I'm not looking at black. If I turn this on, it's like sliding that page in between the two pages. Just because it's there doesn't mean I can see it. So if you need to see the black layer, shut the white off. If you need to see the transparent layer, shut both of them off, because if you leave any other layer on that's solid, anything underneath it, you're not going to be able to see. Okay, so that's the simple thing as far as layers are concerned, and really an easy way to understand the function of that. The foreground color, again, is whatever you're actually working with. So if you double click that, you can change that to whatever you want, and then when you click OK, that's going to change. You can also change the other color to do the same thing. So if you wanted to go to whatever, you change that. And again, if you hit X, it's going to swap those around. Now, let's say you want to go back to the default colors, which is black and white. You can go through here and click on this and drag it down to black and do all that. Or you can simply hit the letter D and it will bring you back to the default colors. Again, hitting X to change those around. So D brings you back to the default colors, which is going to be black on top, white on bottom, and X is going to rotate through those two colors. That's basically it for this tutorial, except for what we're going to do now is we're going to save this. And this is going to be the starting point for all of our merch items. So I shut these two layers off because I want to start with the transparency layer. So if you're to this point, you've got these two layers shut off, go up here and click File and Save. And we're going to save that to the desktop. Oops. And we're going to save it into our merch folder. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this merch start. Oops. Okay, and you're going to save. This is fine. Compatibility, just click OK. And then you can close this out. Okay. So we're going in merch. You see that your folder is in here, or your object is in here. And now what you're going to do is you're going to create a new folder. And in this folder, you're going to call this merch originals, or you can just call it originals. Actually, is fine. Originals. Okay. Then you're going to open new folder, and you're going to name this. I always name it the month, day, and the year, because I have lots of folders from all, many years now. So I can go back, and the reason why you want to do this and why it's so nice is if you just dump everything into this main folder, eventually you're going to have so much work in there, it's going to become a real pain in the ass to find something that you need. Next year, in 2018, I'm going to be able to go back to 2017, especially if I have a really good month with Halloween and different things. And I'm going to say, hey, what did I do last year? I'm going to be able to click on this, and everything that I'm doing for October is in this month. As you can see, this is something that I had so much going for September, I had to make another one for September. But anyway, everything that's going into merch that I'm uploading starting today, which is the first, is going to go into this folder. And again, it really helps out separating everything, and that's what you want. You want to be able to be super efficient later on down the road and be able to go back and say, oh, and also it helps, especially if you're new, to learn how proficient you actually are becoming, because you're going to look at your old files and be like, oh my God, that was terrible. Or, it was a little good, but these new files are way better. And then you're going to be able to just work on, you know what, I'm going to go through these, pick out the ones that worked out really well, my top sellers, the ones that didn't sell at all, and I can move those into a retired file. You always want to keep everything. Another thing is, by having this merch folder dedicated, you're able to just click on this at any point in time, drag it off to a jump drive or something to that effect in order to store it and make sure that you're not losing your documents, because the last thing that you want to do is lose everything if your hardware crashes or something to that effect. So what you're going to do with this originals folder is anything that you might have that's scalable or relatable to other markets. So what I mean by that and what it means to me is, let's say you had an image that you created that said, I love mom. And it's a beautiful art. And all you want to do is change out the word mom to dad, to brother, to sister, to uncle, to dog, whatever. You're going to want to keep that original document in here. And then whenever you put, the copies that you're making or that scaled work, you're going to put in different folders depending upon whatever you're doing. So if you make a whole bunch of different things for October, you're going to put them in here, or you're going to create another folder that says I love mom or variables, however you want to name it, and you're going to dump all of those items in there. But that original one you're going to keep in here. So if you need to trade it with somebody or give it to somebody else, or if you want to go back and make an alteration to the original document, you can do that in there. But ideally, you want to work in a non-destructive way. So keeping your originals and then your copies is what you want to do. So this is going to be your first original. So you right-click on this and you click copy, and then you're going to paste, not the shortcut. So Sorry about that. So you're going to either click paste or, another shortcuts, just simple ones is Control C and then Control V. And you'll see it says merge start copy. Sorry, I should have brought myself some water. Uh, anyway, take this original merge start, dump it into your originals folder, and that's it. So you're going to be able to go in there and see that that's the original. And then, if for some reason you make a mistake with this one, then you'll be able to go and go back to the original. So every time you start in Merch at this point, ideally you should be clicking on this, opening up Photoshop, and then you're going to find that you're starting out with your blank slate and your colors. Now again, white and black, the reason why most of what I design is light colored font onto dark garments. So it makes sense to have the black there. You will sometimes run into issues with a gray color or the light colors, or kind of like yellow, so you might want to see what you're doing there. But that's what this transparent layer is, so that you can change this one to really any color. Now I've seen some of my friends have basically a layer for every color shirt. And I guess that kind of makes sense, but at the end of the day, for simplicity, I don't do it, and this works out fine for me. If I do have an off color, or I have a design that's got a lot of light grays in it, or some additional shading where it might blend too much into the shirt, then I will drop that color gray into this folder here, or whatever color it might actually be, and then be able to look on it. But for the most part, I just leave it transparent, and then utilize this for my dark garments with the light font, or my light garments with the dark font. And then I would start building my images by clicking a new layer and start building my images on that, depending on whatever it is. Anyway, I really appreciate you listening. I know that I'm long-winded, but I want to be as clear as possible. Again, this specific tutorial is really geared to people who have never used Photoshop before, and just need a little bit better of understanding and a little more of a handheld start. So that's what this was for. We're going to have some more advanced tutorials coming. They're going to be a lot shorter, a lot more to the point, but then also some other hand-holding videos, which is okay. Everybody gets their start somewhere, and I'm really just here to help out. If you've got questions, please give them to me. Put them in the comments below, or send them in through the forums, which has been just a great connection point. So appreciate it. And if you need these files, I'm going to try to make them available as well. So have a good day. Good luck with merch, and have a wonderful night.